But Sanjay Jha, this isn't restricted just to China. Even on Pakistan, Dr. Jaishankar says that Pakistan's policy of using terror as a means to get India to the talks table is no longer working. That's off the table. Sanjay Jha on Pakistan.
Gaurav, I can tell you that Mr. Jaishankar has failed as a foreign minister of India. And I repeat it again, because I know he's got these cult followers. I will give you two evidence of that. Number one, look at India's neighborhood policy. You are today literally surrounded by states which have become friendlier towards China. Maldives has openly pivoted, officially pivoted towards China. We know the investments in Sri Lanka are resulting in a political asymmetrical imbalance. You look at Bhutan and Nepal, they are all actually now, kind of pussyfooting with China very openly. And of course, I think these are all significant messages of the kind of risks we are exposing ourselves to. Not to forget, obviously, about the risks of a two-front war with the Pakistan-China axis. How can Mr. Jaishankar use hyperbole to dodge this reality? Point number two, he talks about India's prestige, etc. Let me tell you, I think Mr. Jaishankar should read the foreign media that he clearly has contempt for, because that is an equal determinant of your global reputation. And the truth is that on democracy, on sectarianism, on the death of India's institutions, India is taking an extremely nasty hit all over the world. Obviously, you're a big economy, foreign powers will court you. Everyone wants to go to a big consumer market and a cheap labor market. But that has nothing to do with Modi. Anyone who becomes a prime minister in 2024 will reap the harvest of a country which has a certain threshold of a GDP size. And the last point before I conclude, I think Smita Prakash asked him a question on the issue of all these, the issues in Canada and the recent US government inquiry into the attempt to murder a Sikh separatist. And Mr. Jaishankar, like his guru, Mr. Modi, actually told her, no questions, please. This is not a press conference.
So no, but he did answer the question on, he did answer the question on Canada, where he said, give us evidence, we'll look at it.
Yeah, but I thought the way he's... No, Gaurav, I think he stonewalled that conversation. I thought Smita Prakash did ask him to kind of elaborate, because the Indian government has said, we will inquire into whatever are the allegations made. At least
no, but why would we think that the Western media, I'm sorry, I disagree with you, very respectfully, Sanjay Jha, on why should we accept what the Western media may write as the gospel? You're an Indian citizen. You know what's happening in our country. You don't want Western validation, do you? But let me get Sushant Sareen. Let me get Sushant Sareen to respond to that. No, because there is such uninformed commentary that's happening in a section of the Western media. I'm surprised we should even consider what the Western media writes, and especially when there are some articles that write that Russia is India's new best friend. Really? New best friend? But Sushant Sareen, you wanted to come in both on the aspect of Pakistan and Canada.
Yeah, but Gaurav, on the Western media, not only do people like Mr. Jha look for validation from the Western media, they actually look for intervention from the West to try and make India a more democratic country. From the United States, where a presidential candidate is being debarred and not being allowed to contest, from countries in Europe which are electing leaders which Mr. Jha would certainly not countenance, and yet it's democracy in India that is affected, and which is why these guys are going all over the world trying to lobby for support so that India is badmouthed, India is dissed, and these guys think that will get them votes in Bhagalpur and Bhiwandi and all kinds of other places in this country. Good luck to them. On the issue of Pakistan, Gaurav, I think what the what the foreign minister said was correct. But I think even on Pakistan, that realism in India's policy came after the Uri attacks and the first surgical strikes.
Yes.
We took it up one notch after the Pulwama attacks, and now it has become a policy. But I don't think the Pakistanis have changed their policy of using terrorism to try and bring India onto the table. And you will see that in recent statements, including of Shahbaz Sharif, whose lexicon is a little challenged, so he thinks what is happening in Kashmir is a genocide. He probably never saw the pictures of Lal Chowk on the 31st December night. because in Lahore and everywhere else, their puppet prime minister had banned all kinds of celebration. So Shahbaz Sharif is clearly challenged and he's trying to suck up to the army like the other politicians. The army itself has come out with statements which are obnoxious, to say the least. And you have the Pakistani Foreign Office make its, typical vituperative comments on India.
Okay.
So I don't think the Pakistani policy on India has changed, but I suspect that, maybe Mr. Jaishankar might just have left a little opening for the Pakistanis that in case they want to, re-engage with India at a political level, we are ready to do it. But he also made it very clear that we haven't completely broken off engagement, which we cannot simply because, you're neighboring countries, so you have to do some business of state with each other. But
and
beyond that, I don't think this relationship with Pakistan is going to go anywhere.
And, if Pakistan engages with us after 370, well, it's good. It's good. They've accepted the reality of 370. But Ambassador Kajju, you've dealt with Pakistan all through your career, sir. First time I met you, you were JS spy. Do you notice a change in the policy that was followed earlier? Okay, I still do not have that link with Ambassador Kajju. Sushant Sareen, quickly, Sanjay Jha, you wanted to come in, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to make this point here that, it is very easy for Sushant Sareen to say, just kind of trash the Western media. But this is the same foreign minister. This is the same Mr. Modi, who are actually very happy to become the bulwark for United States to contain China as part of their policy here, which are very happy to attract FDI investment, which are very happy to say that this is what Biden said about Trump, and Trump said about Modi. But hang on, when the New York Times or the Western media says that Indian democracy or Indian communalism is raging, then you say, well, kindly ignore them. What's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. That hypocrisy doesn't work. And I think Mr. Jaishankar had to defend Ab Ki Baar Trump Sarkar, which I thought was the most embarrassing diplomatic gaffe in India's diplomatic history.
Okay, if I were to come back to the Pakistan policy, post Pulwama, Ambassador Kajju, do you notice a change? Dr. Jaishankar says Pakistan's policy of using terror as a means to get India to the talks table isn't working.
No, I think the Pakistan policy after Balakot has been the correct policy, and I believe that the Modi government has done the right thing in this. But let us not also overlook the fact that it took some time to reach this position. So, as always, there is continuity and change in policies. And today, I welcome the the policy that is being pursued with Pakistan. It took some time in coming to this position. It took the tragedy of Pulwama to come to this position. But now that it has reached this, and the fact that they've pursued it for 5 years is right. All the time we were saying terror and talks can't go together. And since 2019, we've pursued this policy, and I only hope we will continue to pursue this policy, because this is something that I believe in, and I personally was advocating it from the 1990s.
Oh, absolutely. I remember reporting on it since the mid-1990s when you were JS spy. The terror and talks do not go simultaneously. And I will let that be the last word on the show. Ambassador Kajju, Sanjay Jha and Sushant Sareen for joining me on this India Today special. Many thanks.